Dear students, welcome to part 1 of module 1 of Virtual Instrument Design presented by Vimal Kumar, Department of Applied Electronics and Instrumentation, Taziri School of Engineering and Technology. We will be covering representation of analog signals in the digital domain, review of quantization in amplitude and time axis, sample and hold, and sampling theorem. Now, representation of analog signals in digital domain, we need to convert analog signals into digital signal if we have to apply digital computers for control application. So the diagram here presents an A to D converter, in the sense analog to digital converter, and what all are involved in that. When an analog signal, here represented by XA of t, is converted into a digital signal in the sense it is represented as binary, a sequence of zeros and one, that is in the coded form, and its bits will be limited. So the analog signal, which is varying in time, is converted into a code, 8-bit code, 16-bit code, depends. Okay, so it is converted into a digital code. So that is the function of an analog to digital converter. So first of all, the analog signal will be sampled by something called as a sampler. Okay, then when the analog signal passes through the sampler, it will be converted to a discrete time signal. After that, it is passed through a quantizer, where the discrete time signal will be having quantized values. We will discuss these things in detail in the next few slides. Sampling. Sampling, it is a process of converting continuous time signal x of t into discrete time signal x of n. X of n is obtained by extracting x of t every tth second, where t is known as sampling period or sampling interval. See, you have analog signal x of t coming, and it is sampled by this switching mechanism. The switch closes at subsequent t seconds. So what we have at the output is the signals when the switch closes. So we have only values of x of t when the small t is multiple of capital T, the sampling time period. So this is how the sampler works. Now x of t is the continuous signal. It is represented by the blue curve. Now after it passes through the sampler, we get xs of t. See, this is the signal that we obtain after passing through the sampler. So it is only defined at intervals of Ts called the sampling period. Okay, in between that there is no data present. Okay, so this is what is the function of. Now there is something called sampling theorem which needs to be taken care during the sampling. Now we have in the figure a signal g of t, that is a continuous time signal. It varies with time. On the x-axis you have the time, and on the y-axis you have the magnitude of g of t. Now the same signal can be represented in the frequency domain. We have on the x-axis uh, the angular frequency omega, and we can see that the frequency components of g of t, which is represented by g of omega, okay, g of omega is in between minus omega m and omega m. That means that g of t is band limited in the frequency domain. Okay, g of t is band limited in the frequency domain. So any time varying signal can also be mapped into the frequency domain, and we can see what all frequency component it has. It comes from the fact that any signal can be represented as a combination of sinusoids, okay, of different frequencies. If we add them up, we will get any signal. So based on that theory, we can find out the energy content of the uh, frequency component of the sinusoid present in the g of t. Now, the maximum frequency component that is present in g of t is the angular frequency of the maximum frequency component is omega m. Now, we can assume that Fm is the maximum frequency component corresponding. If omega m is the angular frequency, maximum angular frequency, then 2 pi Fm is the gives you the angular frequency. That is why Fm is the maximum frequency content for g of t. Thus, the maximum frequency component of g of t is Fm. Okay, Fm. Now we know what a band limited signal is and what the maximum frequency component of Fm is. Now we can move on to what the sampling theorem says. See, we are sampling an analog signal. Okay, so some data is lost. Now, while sampling, we have to make sure that we will be able to reconstruct it from the samples. That is why a criteria called sampling theorem has to be followed during sampling. So the sampling theorem states a band limited signal can be reconstructed exactly if it is sampled at a rate at least twice the maximum frequency component in it. So we have the signal, band limited signal. To recover the signal g of t exactly from its samples, it has to be sampled at a rate fs which is greater than or equal to 2fm. Okay, so that is what is meant by sampling theorem, and this is also called Nyquist rate. Now let us see digital control system. Since uh, actually we have to apply that in a digital control system, apply this concept in a digital control system. So let us see the overview and let us see where all these blocks belong. Now you give a set point, okay, you give a set point and you compare it with the process output. Okay, the process output is generated by, that is sensed by a transducer or sensor. Those are all analog signal. The set point you are giving is also analog. Okay, we are supposing that the set point we are giving is also in the analog form. Now what happens is that they compare, you get an error signal based on that, you get an error signal based on that, and this error signal is fed into a sample and hold circuit. We will see what it is, because actually we have to feed the error signal to a digital controller. Now this digital controller will take only what kind of signals? It can take only this digitally coded signal. That is why you have to convert that first into a digital form. Okay, now there can be variations where you can directly feed the reference to the digital controller, but in that case you will have to do this function, that is sample and hold, ADC, etc. on the transducer output. Okay, transducer output only. Here we are assuming that the reference is given by the analog signal. So basically you have to convert that analog signal into a digital form before you can give it to a digital controller. So you can use ADC, but if the ADC has to perform its function well, you have to maintain the incoming signal constant until ADC performs the conversion operation, until the ADC converts the analog signal into digital form. So that is where sample and hold circuit comes in. It samples the corresponding value. Analog signals are there, it samples the signal first, then what it does is it holds the value constant for the ADC to perform conversion until the next sample comes in. So it performs the sampling function as well as the hold function. Okay, after that the digital controller generates the control signal. It is also in a digital form, thus it has to be given, okay, it has to be given, or it has to be given to the actuator to control the process. But digital controller is giving the digital output, that is digitally coded output, it has to be converted to an analog value. Okay, DAC performs that. But the DAC has also limitation. Let us see what is the limitation. Digital controller gives its coded signal binary sequence to DAC, digital to analog converter. Now this is what DAC outputs. You can see this is a discrete time signal. You cannot give this directly to an actuator. Actuator in the sense AC motor, DC motor that accepts continuous value, okay, or analog signal. You cannot give that. So that is why we have another circuit called the hold circuit. Okay, what it does is that it converts this discrete time signal into a continuous time signal by certain algorithm. See, this is what it does. It converts the output of DAC into a continuous time signal. Now it can be given to the actuator, and the actuator can affect the process so that the output can be controlled. So this is an overview of a digital control signal system in a vague sense. Now there are so many variations available for this system, but this gives you a basic idea of where all the blocks belong. Now sample and hold circuit. Okay, we have discussed sample and hold circuit. How does that work? See, sample and hold circuit samples the voltage of a continuously varying analog signal. Okay, it is here the analog signal is represented by AI and holds its value. See, the samplings are denoted, where samples are taken are denoted by vertical dotted lines. Continuously varying and holds its value at a constant level for a specified minimum period of time. You can see the red lines, it goes vertical, and after for the within the time interval it is held constant. Okay, so that is materialized in the circuit by the holding capacitor, and the sampling action is done by the switch, which is actuated at regular interval by the control signal in the diagram. They are typically used in analog to digital converters to eliminate variation in input signal that can corrupt the conversion process. This was already discussed. Quantization. Now it is a process of converting a discrete time continuous amplitude signal into a digital signal. The input analog signal is compared to a set of predefined voltage or current levels. Each of the level is represented by a unique binary number, and the binary number that corresponds to the level that is closest to the analog voltage is chosen to represent that sample. We will discuss that. Now we have two signals superimposed. One is the analog signal with continuous values. Continuous values means it has infinite values because it has infinite values in between 2 points. Now after sampling, it becomes discrete time continuous value signal as is represented by the bold vertical lines. Now, even though the bold vertical lines are discrete in time, their values, that is the values are usually represented on the y-axis. Their values seem to be changing continuously. They don't take jumps in between. See, in the time axis, in the x-axis, the values, that is their positions are jumping at constant intervals, but that is not the case for the y-axis or their amplitude. So if we are using a digital system, that will be having fixed number of bits to store signals in terms of memory, maybe 3-bit system, 8-bit system, 16, that is called word length. Okay, so if we have to make this in terms of, we have to store the values in terms of binary sequence, we will have to limit the output, limit the values within a fixed range. So how we can do that? Let us see, let us assume that we are having a 3-bit system. See, this is the values which can be had by a 3-bit system. So we can see that only certain levels, okay, only certain fixed levels are possible with this system in this range. Okay, that is indicated by the horizontal lines in the grid. Now the continuously varying discrete time signal, or the, that is represented by the dark vertical lines, that is the top of the dark vertical lines, has to be rounded off to the nearest possible values represented by this coded binary values. Okay, that is what is called quantization. Let us see that. See, that dark black vertical lines have been replaced by this brown vertical lines, which has been approximated to the nearest digitally coded values. Now what we have is a quantized signal derived from analog signal rounded off to the nearest finite level defined by the binary code. Now we can map the samples at each instant to a binary code. Okay, now we can store that in a memory system. The values allowed in the digital signal are called quantization levels. The magnitude or distance delta between two successive quantization levels is called step size. Now let x max and x min represent minimum and maximum values for a particular sample. X of n denotes for the sample at n, nth sample. N can vary from 0, 1, 2, etc., etc. That will depend on n into t. That is, it is actually representing small x of t at when t is a multiple of capital T by n. Okay, L is the number of quantization levels allowed by b bits. Here in the previous example we were having 3 bits, so the quantization levels allowed will be 2 raised to b. See, that is 8. 8 was the number of levels that was permissible. L is the number of quantization level allowed by b bits. Dynamic range is x max minus x min. Okay, that is the maximum value that can be represented by the signal, as well as the minimum value that can be represented, that has to be represented. So this is the dynamic range. Now the delta is given by the quantization error. This delta is given by x max minus x min divided by L minus 1. Maximum quantization error is delta by 2. The step size is given. Okay, and maximum quantization error that is possible is given by delta by 2. Delta represents the step size, that is nearest, that is the distance between nearest possible change. Increasing the number of bits definitely reduces the quantization error, provided that the dynamic range remains constant. Now we can look at the topic of recreating the signal. That is, you have a digitally coded signal from the digital controller, and now that has to be put to a DAC. Now DAC produces this discrete time signal, but that cannot be given to an actuator. Okay, so you have an hold circuit. Okay, you have a hold circuit, so that makes it into a continuous time signal. Now please listen. The hold circuit shown here is a zero order hold. You can see that until the next sample, the previous value is maintained. So you can see that for y h of t, until the next value comes, you have the output as a horizontal line. Okay, that is, the previous value is maintained until the next sample comes in. Okay, so this kind of reconstruction algorithm is called a zero order hold. Reconstruction is a process of creating an analog voltage from samples. A digital to analog converter takes series of binary numbers and recreates the voltage levels that corresponds to that binary number. Thank you.